What up guys, it's T. If you watch my recent video where I purchased the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette to see if the swatches would be flattering on dark skin, I asked you guys if any of you would be interested in seeing me play around with it and actually do a look to see how the shadows perform. More than one of you said yes, and I got nothing else to do right now, so let's do it. I'm gonna dig into this palette. Here it is, and see what I come up with. I was looking through pictures of Gwen Stefani on the internet because I always think of her with a neutral eye but bold liner, usually winged, and a bright red lip, matte skin. After doing the most basic Google image search for Gwen Stefani, I noticed that she actually doesn't wing out her liner all the time. In fact, she doesn't even wing it out most of the time, but she does typically have a pretty bold liquid liner, not necessarily with the flick on the end. But I was correct in noticing that she tends to do a pretty neutral eye. You don't really notice her eyeshadow looks per se. She's more about the liner and the lip. To be honest, I would say that these colors right here make the least sense out of the palette based on what Gwen Stefani actually wears. So I think they included those because they knew people would be like, where are my pops of color? But I would have been perfectly fine if they had just done a third row of just even deeper neutrals, because these are all fairly light. They could have done more midtones and deeper neutrals on the bottom for me, but I think this is still a pretty solid palette, but the only real way is to put it on my eyes. So when I was looking through the Google image searches, I came across this picture. I think this is a photo of her getting ready at the Grammys last year or something. I thought that this looks like something that I could definitely try to sort of replicate. I'm not gonna do it exactly because obviously our features are different. Our skin tones are very different and all that, but I'm gonna do my best to do a look inspired by this one. Just because I think it's sort of a very classic Gwen Stefani look in a way, with the bright pout, the bold liner, and the neutral eye, and I think it'll be very achievable with this palette, so that's what I'm gonna go for today. So whenever I'm doing an eyeshadow look, I start with my eyes unless I forget, because if there's any fallout, it's just easier to clean it up. I'm not even gonna prime my skin yet, because I find that if I prime my skin, then do my eyeshadow, when I do get fallout, it's harder to brush it off because I primed my skin. So it's sticking to that primer. The primer I'm gonna use is the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Primer Potion. I got this on clearance because they changed the packaging recently, and I guess they just wanted to get rid of the old one, so I got that for less than $10. And you need such a little amount, even though that's considered a travel size. I thought it was a pretty good deal, and anything that's going to help with anti-aging, I am on board. In the picture, she's got a pretty sharp winged eyeliner. Now lately I've been experimenting with the new way of doing my winged eyeliner. I've been doing it before I actually start doing my real eyeshadow work, because I find that if I need to clean up or adjust and go in with a Q-tip and sharpen an edge, if I've already laid eyeshadow down underneath, I'm clearing that away as I'm clearing up the eyeshadow or the eyeliner that I already fucked up. But if I do the eyeliner first, I can put eyeshadow on top and if need be just trace over it if it gets a little bit muted out by the eyeshadow I've laid on top. And it's a lot easier to trace over eyeliner that's already there than try to build it from scratch and then have to fix it. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna go ahead and line my eyes. For that, I'm gonna use the e.l.f. liquid eyeliner. I believe it is $1. But before I do even that, I'm going to reverse curl my eyelashes. I pretty much never wear fake eyelashes, but I think for this look I'm going to try to. I've probably worn fake eyelashes half a dozen times in my entire life, and they're usually somewhere up here, you know, way, way far away from my actual lash line, because I just am inept at putting them on. But I learned a trick from It's My Ray Ray where she reverse curls her eyelashes, because her eyelashes are super curly like mine, and that helps to straighten them out and makes it easier to actually get the false eyelash behind them later. So I'm gonna do that right now. I actually didn't even own an eyelash curler because it was just pointless for me because I don't need one, but it's basically an eyelash straightener if you turn it upside down. So now that's also gonna make it easier for me to do my winged liner. Alright, so now we have at least kind of a sketch of how I want my eyeliner to look. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup just because, again, with these curly lashes, I tend to get liquid eyeliner on the tips and then they'll get wiggled around while I'm doing the liner and they'll get on parts of my eyelid where I don't want it. We have our little blueprint of what the liner is supposed to look like by the end laid out, so now we can actually get on to the eyeshadow look. So I'm going to dip into that mid-tone brown color zone. Tap my brush off, and she had a pretty sharp kind of edge with her shadow as well. I don't put tape on my face to do that because I'm not trying to fuck my skin up. So I'm just, what I like to do if I don't trust myself, and I never do, to be honest, to just have enough skills to create that sharp edge without any help, is I take a tissue, just like this, and I do it that way to create the edge. So I'll just use that to sort of build that sharp edge on the outside. And again, this is the shade Zone. And just focusing that on the outer edge, but bringing it across the socket a bit too. Just not all the way in here, just to about here. And you can see, hopefully, that there's a pretty clean edge with that shadow melding in with the edge that I have from the eyeliner. I know it looks weird that I do most of my blending with my eyes open, but that's intentional. I blend mostly with my eyes open because my eyes are going to be open most of the time that I'm wearing my makeup. So I like to see how the eye look is taking shape the way it's actually going to look with my eyes open. Next, with a flat brush, I'm going to go into Bath Water, which is a shimmery light gold, kind of champagne-y, but more gold, in my opinion. And I'm going to take that across most of my lid. I went a little too high with this bathwater color, but that's all right. I actually want to take more of Zone through my crease anyway, so it's gonna be fine. Also get those inner tear ducts because this is a nice brightening shade, so it'll be a nice inner tear duct brightener. Dipping back into Zone, I'm just running that on that socket. Okay, so now I'm going to dip into the deepest brown shade in the palette, which is called Punk. I really only want this color to deepen out the very outer edge of my eye. I don't really want it to go all over the place, so I'm taking a pretty small brush. So looking straight ahead so I can see where I want to place this, I want it right here in my outer socket. Almost like you're cutting the crease, I think, as people say, but like I always say, I'm no makeup artist. And I know a lot of the hookers here on YouTube are like, oh, I'm a makeup artist, and then you find out that their entire portfolio is pictures of themselves on Instagram. Next, I'm going to take this same small brush, I'm going to wipe off that super dark color, and then I'm going to go into 1987, which is that mid-tone brown that I use throughout most of my crease, and I'm going to run it under my lash line. Now I'm going to take a teeny tiny push liner brush and dip into Blackout, which is the black shade in the palette, and I'm just going to use that to push underneath my lash line and right on top on the upper lash line to create more drama. I don't like tight lining because it makes me cry and ruin my makeup. Getting a little bit of fallout from this shade, Blackout. Blackout, more like fallout, am I right? The eyeshadow look is pretty much done here. I'm just gonna clean up this fallout, and this right here is why I don't prime my face before eyeshadow. Now I'm gonna line my waterline on the bottom, and then we're gonna go back in and finish that upper lash line eyeliner. When I line my waterline, I don't tug on that eye skin because you know how delicate the eye skin always is, you always hear about it. So I actually just kind of press lightly, and that causes my waterline to sort of pop out, and then I can easily just place a pencil there. The shadow's done, and now I can go in and actually just redo the cat eye, basically just drawing on top of what's already there. I'm gonna go with the Inglot gel liner in 77. That's it for eyeliner. I'm gonna put on a coat of mascara, possibly only the one because I am going to attempt to put on false lashes. Alright, we've got a coat of mascara on. Next up, I'm going to attempt to put on false eyelashes. But before I do that, I'm actually going to prime my face. That way the primer will have a minute or two to sink in, or 5 minutes, while I'm struggling to put on these lashes. So for primer, I'm going to actually mix together the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer, as well as the Bioderma Sebium Pore Refiner. One little pump, literally that much. And then I just mix it with an equal amount of the Bioderma primer. This is a good combo for me. And I also have some redness right here because I've had this zit, or I had this zit in like September, and the mark has been taking so long to go away that I was actually like picking at it today to try to see if like there was an ingrown hair or something, and just made it worse. So not heeding my own advice about being gentle with your skin. So while this primer sinks in, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to apply false eyelashes. I may or may not have them on in 2 seconds depending on how this goes. Alright, so it's 3 years later and the lashes are sort of on. Yet again, they're about 4 inches away from my actual lash line, but I did my best. I mentioned earlier that I think of Gwen Stefani as having pretty matte skin, and that seemed to be pretty accurate based on the pictures I was looking at on Google. Of just looking at her makeup over the years. I think maybe because she came to prominence in the 90s and supposedly matte skin was in back then. So I'm actually going for, foundation wise, I'm going to go for a Double Wear Light. I don't have the regular Double Wear, but I really like this one. This foundation doesn't keep me as matte as my Becca Ever Matte foundation. I forget the name of it. It's too long. The Becca one can leave me looking ashy if I don't color correct, and I almost never color correct because I'm lazy like that. I tend to focus around my mouth here. That's where I concentrate most of the foundation when I put it on my face because I have hyperpigmentation. I've got basically a beard and a mustache, and then I just put it anywhere else where I'm like, oh, you know, right above my eyebrows there's like a very distinct line of demarcation, so I'll put a little foundation there. The corners of my nose, I can always use a little coverage, stuff like that. I am going to conceal under my eyes today, which I don't do every single day, but for a look like this I feel like I need it. I'm just going to use the Maybelline SuperStay Better Skin Concealer in the shade Deep. This is the darkest shade it comes in. And I don't really go for that Kim Kardashian highlighted look with my concealer really. I just try to match my skin tone rather than go lighter. Tap that out as if I were using my finger, but I feel like I can get more precision with this brush than I can with my finger. I don't feel like my face looks completely muted out and devoid of dimensionality, luckily, but I'm still going to add a little bit of contour and bronzer because I feel like Gwen Stefani usually has a contour situation going. So I'm going to do a cream contour today, and for that I'm going to use this Sleek Cream to Powder Foundation Tester Kit. I got this a couple years ago from Sleek. This is dark, so it gives you 5 of their dark cream to powder foundation shades to try, and when I got this I was hoping to figure out what shade I was, and instead I wound up getting 5 contour shades because they're all a little too deep for me. But that's actually been kind of awesome because then I can decide how severe I want to contour my face or how, you know, subtly I want to do it. So I'm just going to take a flat, smaller brush, and I'm going to go fairly contoured today because this is kind of a dramatical look we're going for. I'm going to use a shade called Deep Sable. I do like to do under my jawline as well. Now that we've laid that down, I'm just gonna blend it out with the same brush I used to apply my foundation. And to blend it out, I just basically stab myself in the face with it. I am quite literally beating my face. Just glancing at the eyeshadow in the mirror, and I noticed that the bathwater shade has sort of gotten a little bit too blended in with the darker shade. So I'm going to go back in with that flat shader brush and just add some more bathwater on top and bring back that brightness. You know, those darker shades are, I guess, pretty pigmented, so they sort of overtook that work that I did with bathwater on the inner 2/3 of my eye, and the look just wound up going darker than I had planned it. So no harm, no foul. We can fix that. Lickety split. That's what I want. We gotta do something about these eyebrows, or lack thereof. Gwen Stefani always has that really arched eyebrow. Back in the No Doubt days, it was fairly thin and really arched because that was the look of the time. I can't really achieve that with the eyebrows that I have, so I'm more or less just gonna do my eyebrows as normal. Does anyone else use their right hand for their right eye and their left hand for their left eye when they're doing mascara, or just me? I cannot use, I'm right-handed, but I cannot do my left eye with my right hand. I have to for eyeliner because that's a precision thing, but I just can't do this. I don't know. Now for highlight, I'm not really gonna highlight. I'm gonna use an Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder and Luminous Light. These things are hideously priced. I mean, I'm just gonna level with you. They're priced hideously. I picked one up during Sephora sale that they just had in November, and I'm in love with this. It's just the perfect, I'm not wearing highlighter. I'm gonna do a little down the bridge of my nose as well, and a little bit just right here in the center of my forehead. I am not going to do my Cupid's bow because I think it looks gross. But if you like your mouth to look sweaty, have at it. Before I decide on blush, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to lips. I put on lip balm before I started any of this makeup, so my lips feel like they're good to go, and they don't seem to be in a bad way where I wouldn't be able to wear a matte. So it seems fitting that I should use one of these guys from the little sample card that came with it. And I think I'm gonna go with 714, which is a Mega Matte. I think that's a new finish. I don't believe Urban Decay has Mega Matte lipsticks yet. They came out with mattes recently, but not Mega Mattes. Anyway, I'm gonna use 714, which is this one right here. It looks sort of like a orange-based red. And 714, to the unfamiliar, is actually the area code for Orange County. Gwen Stefani's from Anaheim, which is Orange County. And I only know that because I live in LA, and whenever I see someone calling me from a 714 area code, I hit ignore. Now before I go in with that, I'm gonna go ahead and line my lips. I don't normally do this. I normally line my lips after the color because as it wears off, I find that if you do liner first, as your lipstick wears off, you're left with just the line that you put there first. But for the purposes of this, I'm gonna do it because it's in this little pod, and I think it'll work out better for me. This Mega Matte texture feels pretty smooth. It doesn't feel like it's dragging, but it might be because it's on a lip brush, I don't know. Yeah, it's this lipstick formula, it feels really lightweight, but it's so pigmented that it feels like I'm not even getting it on my lips. It's so lightweight, but I can clearly see that I am, so that's kind of cool. And there's 714. I like to put on lipstick before blush just to make sure I even need blush. Sometimes it's necessary and sometimes it would take the look over the top and make it too much. Based on how this is looking, I think I'm good, but I think I am going to add a little bit of bronzer, and then I'll just spritz my face to kind of set everything. For bronzer, I'm going to use another Hourglass product that is hideously priced. It is their Luminous Bronze Light Bronzer. This came out in the spring. Now I'm going to spritz my face with the e.l.f. Mist and Set. Because that's it. I think I have enough makeup on and I can stop here. And there you have it. This is my very first look playing with the Gwen Stefani Urban Decay palette, and actually her lipstick as well, which I guess won't be out until the spring, but I like this color. I don't feel like it's super unique, and I feel like I probably have other things in my collection that look just like it. So I don't know if that's a need to have, but it's very pigmented. It feels very comfortable on the lips for a Mega Matte. It doesn't feel like it's drying or anything like that, but only time will tell. I might feel differently later. But I hope you guys liked it. Thanks for hanging out with me and playing with me in my new palette. Let me know if you picked it up or if you think you're going to. So far, so good. I like it. I feel like the shadows perform well. They're on par with Urban Decay's standard in terms of how their shadows perform. Some of the mattes had a little bit of fallout, so just be aware of that. And, you know, I think they feel very smooth though for mattes, particularly compared to some of the other Urban Decay mattes. So I think they did a pretty good job. I'd give the palette a B+, A- maybe. I'd have to play with it more to give it a final grade, but based on today, I'd say B+, A-. And I like this look. I think it's maybe a bit more than what I'm used to, especially with the eyelashes and everything, but I might wear it for a night out or something. In this case, I'm probably just gonna be walking around my apartment and pretending that I'm a pretty princess. Anyway, that's it for this video. I think the next time I play in this palette, I may cut on the camera and just have you guys come hang out with me. If you'd be interested, let me know, just because, I don't know, I kind of want to get to know this thing, see if it was worth the 58 bucks. So let me know what you think. And if you also have been doing looks with it, let me know if you're on Instagram or anything like that. I'm not. I'm not on any social networks except YouTube because I'm antisocial that way. No pun intended. But yeah, I would love to see what you guys are doing with it. And thanks for watching. Bye!
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm gonna tell you that now.